you know, and I go, here, I'll lift the hood and show him the Hemi and all the nice stuff. And I close the hood and he just turns around and starts walking away from the car. And I'm like, He walks off about 15, 20 feet, turns around, folds his arms, and he goes, open those headlight doors. And I go, okay. So I just reach in because it's right underneath on the left side of the dash. And I just go, you know, open and close it. And he goes, I love it. And then walked away.
Walked away.
And again, it's just like when he commissioned me to build it, I'm like, what just happened? I mean, he said, he said, I love it, so okay.
Hey, welcome to Car Guy Confessions, brought to you by ARP. I'm Jeff Smith. This is my car buddy Cam Benty and car builder Steve Strope, and we're going to tell you some stories.
We're rolling, so do your magic.
Okay.
Welcome to another episode of Car Guy Confessions with Jeff Smith, brought to you by our friends at arp-bolts.com. We don't forget that. We're also at the Peterson Museum, as you can tell.
In all its greatness.
All its vast, oh boy, it's such a fun place. And we're in front of Steve McQueen's
Lister Jag. Yeah, because that's normal.
Yeah, that happens all the time. So
is he at the Lister? What do you mean? Wait a minute. XKSS.
XKSS.
Oh, that's right. It's not a Lister.
Yeah. Well, so you were wrong.
It's the street. Wait.
It's the street.
I'm wrong.
It's the street version.
I am Jag.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I mentioned to you,
Doesn't matter. It's sexy and really expensive.
and really cool.
crazy money.
Anyway, so we're here with Peterson Museum, which is right down the street from our old digs.
Yes, literally.
With literally the Peterson building.
That's right. You were Wilshire.
The sway bars.
Yeah.
Sway bars throw.
Many years.
You have to introduce Cam.
Should we?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
As if we have to.
My car,
How many episodes is this? Like 92.
Really?
93.
So we're about to break the century mark here.
We are.
Wow.
Just
We're going to do something special?
Yeah, with our age alone.
So
special.
ourselves with maybe something like that.
What we're gonna get is a bag of fig Newtons, and
That's it. You know what's in a fig Newton is
fig.
and Newtons.
Oh,
Little wasps. A little bit of wasp in there.
Wasp.
Big wasp. Yeah, big ones. That's how they get pollinated. Look it up.
Thanks for ruining that for me, Judd.
I'll never touch it.
That's why they're crunchy.
I'm so not happy right now. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear
Usually they put it in a bucket, they stir it up.
It's something like that. Yeah, it's probably.
Wow.
Probably
never heard that.
Wow, that's all sorts of unsettling. I was just saying
little tidbits of information that you get on this show. I mean, where else are you going to get that?
No.
It's probably not even accurate. It's just something
I'm good.
I think the word is apocryphal.
Apocryphal.
Yes. Like, so doesn't everyone know this?
Like
of course.
Catastrophe.
What?
Catastrophe.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's a catastrophe.
I like it.
How many syllables is that?
That's more than 3. 4.
What are we doing? Do we have a plan?
Well, we're talking about we're going to reach our 100 show mark.
Yes. So we'll have to do something beyond fig Newtons, probably. Because we have such a huge budget.
Maybe cupcakes.
What? Cupcakes.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
cupcakes. Okay, very good.
So, Ralph's.
Right. With little candles. With little candles. Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
That'd be great.
Do you remember how this all started? Remember it was a conversation at lunch one day?
It was something, yeah. It was an accident.
I got dragged at
gunpoint.
Probably blackmail.
So we were sitting in a parking lot in Simi Valley, and we talked about it. And we were chatting. Oh, it was kind of interesting stuff. I think people might be interested.
Yeah.
And we thought very highly of ourselves.
Of course.
We thought very highly of ourselves.
Because no one else does.
We had just recently
We had recently read all our resumes.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, yes,
we could do this.
Yeah, I do it.
And then after about 4 shows, we ran out of stuff to talk about.
I don't think so.
We had to
Just
start.
time.
You know, we haven't stopped running out of things.
Yes.
No, that's just exactly.
And that's funny. Yeah.
And we, you know what, even though we should save the reflecting for the 100th show, but
Oh, white.
wow, if we had some amazing people on
Oh, yeah.
and some amazing stories. My favorite, I think, is like some of the craziness from Ratings.
Randy Lawrence, absolutely,
He called
absolutely.
me today. He's-
Did he?
He asked how the show was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ironically today.
We should probably have him on.
Oh, should. You know,
We did the special where we did the kind of the best of thing, which was
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that was
We have had just such great people on the show.
yeah.
I know who we should have though. And we'll have to do a travel thing, and we'll have to figure out when your timing is right.
Okay.
What are we doing?
Disky.
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
That was just 103 years
We're
old.
gonna have to go there. And we just lost Alex.
Alex and Jesse. Which we talk about.
2?
I think he was also 103.
No, two. I think
102. Okay.
two.
So that was a
Alex and Xydias, who we should probably say something about that. It was just so
Because not everybody out there knows who that is.
right because he's been around for so long. But
Well, 102 years.
well, yes, but I mean not as a hot rider for all. It's got to be 2 years. But worked
What, 80 of them?
worked for Peterson for
yes, he did. Yes, he did.
and had the SoCal Speed Shop.
Yes.
That's where that
icon.
it didn't start. It didn't start with Pete Shaporis.
No.
It was way beyond that.
That's when Alex started.
When did he set it in the 40s or 50s?
1945, I think is the year. So literally at the end of World War II.
Yeah,
It
he's
was the same year. at the end of
complete
World War
cornerstone of our industry.
Yeah.
Started with a Nagasaki bomb casing. 45.
II. So it's just. I mean, it's just. It's too bad that we
Yeah.
couldn't have done
Absolutely.
something with him.
You would have been great.
And had him on here to tell some stories because they're
Absolutely.
fantastic. Because
He's awesome.
beginning right after the war, that literally hot rods had ridiculously bad reputation.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, and Mr. Peterson started Hot Rod Magazine, which a lot of people didn't think would work because
Right.
you're talking about all these hoodlums with
Right.
cars and
But then the movie industry didn't help.
no,
Hot
that's
Rod-
the Hot Rods for Israel and all that
Hot Rod
stuff.
New
Hot Rod
There's one I think called that. So we were definitely, our industry was definitely in the crosshairs. And then
Yeah.
But the concept
NHRA went out with the safety to try to fix that.
exactly, which was the whole point of it, was to get the hot rods off, street racing off the streets and onto dedicated drag strips, and that's really where that started from.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that was Wally and the boys. And they were, I actually have a lovely picture of the starting line at Lions, and there's a 61 Corvette, and then there's the safety Safari, and I can't remember what the other deal is, but it's Mickey Thompson, it's Alex Xydias, CJ Pappy Hart, and it's Wally, and they're all kind of like going through. It's like they're plotting some plan here because they got a piece of paper on the car. I'm thinking, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just this awesome photo. I'll get it over there so you can see this photo.
Yeah.
It's just a great photo from a classic
And probably from the late 50s then.
It might have been, the Corvette was a 61.
So 61, so it had to been-
So yeah.
That'd been after 61 then. Yeah.
So,
Still. Yeah.
it was a great show.
In the beginnings
It's
of
great.
it. Yeah.
It's up close. I mean, you can tell who all the guns are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we also lost George Poteet
Yes.
just recently.
Yep.
And of course, he's the gentleman. I mean, he's been a hot rodder for his whole life,
I
but
forget
really got involved with Bonneville.
which magazine feature it was on him, talking about him a while ago, but he was a customer of mine also. And so I will say that I agree with this moniker being given to him. He was called the patron saint of hot riding.
Mm-hmm.
And in the text written below it, which I of course agree with because I was involved, he gave a lot of us our start, a big kick start, a big push. I know Rad Rides for sure. And sure, he let us
From the concept of car builders.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Not the later version of doing stuff on the salt plains, but he was responsible for allowing so many people like myself being able to take our talent or our whatever it was and go, I want one of these, do me something cool. And I'll never forget. I was so nervous. Well, the first time I met him, if I may speak quickly about George.
Yeah, no, it's this.
The first time I met him was when I was on my very first power tour in '98, and I had my '66 Charger sculling, and we were at I think it was the third stop. I think it was in Oklahoma, and my car was so damn fresh that I was changing the cam break-in oil. Right? So I changed it, and he's laughing. By the way, it went out of the way.
From an engine builder standpoint, yeah, that's oof.
Steve was the patron saint of breaking oil.
Yeah. So I'm changing the oil.
How many miles is that? Like
Well, from
500? Okay.
It worked. Look, some of us don't have big budgets, okay? So anyway, I'm under the car, I'm changing the oil. I lucked out because we stopped at a vocational school.
Yeah, in Kansas. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
it was
right in Kansas. Yeah.
So anyway, George walked. Now, I knew George's name because of Hot Rod Names. I never knew what he looked like. But I knew who Jack Tripp,
Japan.
he was walking with.
Okay.
And they came over, and I have my humble little Charger sitting there, and George is looking at it with that long dread.
Southern jump.
He goes, I like your Charge. And I go, oh, thanks. And, you built this? Yeah, in my underground parking garage at my apartment. You did? But yeah, stupid. We're crazy when we do cars. And I go, so you... right?
Yeah, now. Yeah.
So we're on power tour, but as you know, each night when we stop, there's tons of locals hanging out at the stopping.
Mm-hmm.
Since I don't know who he is yet, he could be a local.
Mm-hmm.
He could be whatever. And I go, are you in the group with us, on the tour? Are you local? And he goes, I got a car here, a couple. And I go, really? And I go, along one. And he goes, green one over there, and Sniper.
Oh, just Sniper.
Green, no, just the green one.
The green one.
And so I'm quickly putting two and two together. And I literally go like this. Are you George Poteet? And he goes, yes, sir. And I go, hey. And, but truth be told, he wasn't driving Sniper. He was letting Troy drive Sniper.
Mm-hmm.
He was driving, it was like a 64 or 65 Coronet station wagon.
Really?
With a CB whip antenna and a set of torque thrusts on it. I'm like, I like this man. This man owns that, but he's driving that.
Driving the other thing.
And so I evolved with my relationship with you guys at Hot Rod and with, at the time, Jerry Pitt was at Mopar Muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd been very fortunate to get in a bunch of magazines with not only that Charger, but a Challenger I did and some other Mopars. And I got branded
Mopar guy.
Because I was the only guy doing, there was Delaney and me that were doing a pro touring Mopar. And so I went to, a few years later, I went to Detroit for the Riddler, just as I had no car there. I was just walking around, just digging it, checking it out.
Yeah.
And George walks up to me and goes, hey, Steve. And I go, oh, George. And he goes, you know what I'm thinking? I'd really like myself a 68 Charger. And I go, you're being an idiot. I'm not picking up on this. I go, oh, I'm sure you'd find yourself a real nice one. 68 Chargers are really awesome. And he goes, no, sir, I'm a...
Steve Strope, not consider.
No. which is funny that you say that, because I am.
Because you are in sales.
And so anyway, he goes, no, you're the Mopar guy. I want you to build it. And I go, okay. And he goes, and luckily I did by happenstance. He goes, Michael Desmond? And I go, yeah, he's actually done some drawings for me on the GTXR car that I built prior. And he goes, right, yeah, we come up with an idea and have Michael tell we'll pay him for the drawing. And so I came with that white 68, a NASCAR Charger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great car.
And, it's like, pinch me, George Poteet.
What just happened?
Pretty much. So I'll round it out with, when I finished the car, I took it to the Grand National Roadster Show, and it's just before John Buck tucked me into buying my own big booth.
Okay.
Right, so I just had the car there, and I was nervous as heck. And George hasn't seen it done, right?
Oh, yeah, and see
He hadn't seen it done. So I got two stories. One while I'm building and one when I got to show it to him. I call him up because I don't want to put heater hoses in this thing because I'm doing like a NASCAR engine bay. It's like, it'll look portable.
Yeah.
I call him up and go, hey, George, can I skip putting a heater in this car? I mean, I know you want to drive it, and it's not going to be for track use. It's going to be for driving around. But I think it's just ruined a lot, And State, I got cars with heaters. If it's cold out, I'll drive one of them. And I go,
Now that's a good customer.
I go, touche. Okay. So I got green light to build it how I wanted to.
Life is good.
So I finished the car, and he's got a right-hand man named Danny.
Okay.
And Danny comes walking in. He looks at the guy and goes, where's George? I'm like, long-tailed cat in a room of rocking chairs. I just want to show it to him and see if he likes it, right? Because he
You said it, Iowa.
Okay, I would.
what?
A long-tailed cat.
In a room of rocking chairs?
Yeah.
Okay. So I am old. Maybe not as old as you, but I'm old enough to know old, dumb statements like that. Or sayings. So anyway, I'm nervous as heck, and I got the car all done and sitting there. And then George walks up, and he's, a lot of pressure. When your customer has stuff built by Rad Rides,
Yeah.
You have to keep.
All of you watching this, if you don't know who Rad Rides is by now, they are arguably probably the top dog and have been.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
Detroit's your best.
Get it for the show? Yeah, Troy, this is an official invite.
Again,
been on.
So, yeah.
it's been on, but again, we could do it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Why not? See, yeah.
Get him on again, whatever. Okay. So anyway, I'm nervous as heck. And George is now looking around it. He's poking his head in it. He's walking around it. Now, going back to when I suggested building a NASCAR Charger and we had the drawings done, and I'm on the phone with him, he goes, I got one thing. And I go, oh, okay, shoot. But what's the one thing? He goes, I don't care. Quote, I don't care if you use a lawnmower choke cape. I want those headlights manually operated, not that vacuum, because that never works and it goes out at the instant. But I go, oh, okay. So I worked with Control Cable, a really cool place, and I made
Use a choke cable?
basically, it's one cable that went out to basically underneath the front, driver's side front tire.
Yeah.
Went to a transmission with a block. So this cable, it's a solid stainless inner cable.
Okay.
Went pinched into a block. And then the other two cables go out to the headlights. And I kept all even the vacuum bellows there.
Mhm.
I just drilled them out and hollowed them out. And so the cable goes up and grabs that arm that the bellows didn't grab. So all the geometry is still there.
Yeah. All the factory.
And
This was an 8 or a 9?
8.
Okay.
So it goes, perfect.
Nice.
And fast, right?
Yeah.
Real cool.
Yeah.
So I've got that. And I did that, months and months and months ago before it was ever painted or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't forgotten it, but it's not on my high list right now. I'm worried about liking the car,
Right.
everything
Right.
else. So he's walking around and he looks at it and he's not asking me any questions. They're like, oh, Jesus. Just like the car, please just or just kill me. So he looks at it, and I go, here, I'll lift the hood and show him the Hemi and all the nice stuff. And they close the hood and he just turns around and starts walking away from the car. And I'm like, He walks off about 15, 20 feet, turns around, folds his arms, and he goes, open those headlight doors. And I go, okay. So I just reach in because it's right underneath on the left side of the dash. And I just go, open and close it. And he goes, I love it. And then walked away.
Walked away.
And again, it's just like when he commissioned me to build it, I'm like, what just happened? I mean, he said, I love it. So, okay.
Okay. That was a positive thing.
Yeah.
But I was really worried in the beginning about, cost.
Boom.
And, now I'm not worried anymore because these cars are they're stupid expensive and that's all there is to it. But when I'm, cutting my teeth and getting rolling, I'm like,
Yeah.
And so
How many cars had you built up to this point?
that had gotten in a bunch of magazines, probably like somewhere between 5 or 6 cars.
Right. So that's
You were
Yeah.
still, but
Yeah.
you were
But I'm
still
still cutting my
digits.
teeth. Yeah.
You're still in single digits, isn't it?
So
that's the top line deal.
So anyway, I had asked him, I'm not going to disclose numbers, but I said, I think this is going to be around this much. Is that okay? It just putting it out there before we get rolling. He goes, as long as you hand me a car that's worth that much money, yeah, no problem. And I go,
Well, there you go.
okay. So all of that long-winded stuff that I agree with whatever editor wrote, he's the patron saint of hot rodding.
Yeah.
He was so supportive to so many of us young builders coming up and saw something in us that like, hey, I bet you this idiot could do something cool, and allowed us to do that
Yeah.
on his dime and his time.
And then turned around and took it to Bonneville and did similar kinds of things.
Oh, yes, he
It
did.
ended up
And again with Troy.
All with Troy.
Yeah,
And
that
well,
blowfish car.
The blowfish car. Then
Reimagine what a Bonneville car was supposed to look like quality-wise. Just took the rules and threw it at but that's Troy.
and then with the Streamliner, with the Speed Demons, and I think they now own all the records AA through
I'm sure they do.
E, I believe. Sure they know. And we were just at the shop yesterday. Some friends of mine
At Big E's,
at Big
Steve Watts.
Steve Watt, and he's talking about the fact that now they want to try and go after some normally aspirated records. So
Kenny Duttweiler is still building the engines.
Kenny's still build the engines, and he's getting up there, but he's still chugging along, doing really well.
Still a
And,
genius.
The master, and then apparently there's a family member who wants to drive the car. So
Poteet, Phelan?
Poteet family member. So that will put the family behind the car. I'm putting words in their mouth, so I don't know exactly much more than that. But he did mention that, and which is great because that means the car will come back out. It's not going to disappear. And so we were just there yesterday. There was literally salt dripping off the car.
They should probably clean that off.
And he was telling us how they have to literally take the car
Completely apart.
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
So like if you've got a bolt going through a fixture,
Oh, sure.
there's salt in there and it'll corrode, it'll lock up. So you've got to take it apart, clean it, and then lube it, and then put it back.
Well, they are
so
totally
the car has
labor
to come. Every nut and bolt has to come off that car.
And that's a complex vehicle.
Man, from a packaging standpoint, it's just astonishing.
Yes.
So, and sponsored by the ARP people, which is, and they, of course, they just have all, especially fasteners. He was showing us like the work parts and how they have all these fasteners from ARP in case they need something,
Yes, of course.
coarse thread on this side, fine thread on this side,
Good.
and it's like, that's what it takes, it's a professional organization, and there's so many volunteers that work on that car.
Yep.
So, and then there was,
Have you been to Bonneville?
I've been to Bonneville I went with my friend John Bechtel when he ran his Pontiac there. And
That was in the 80s?
in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that was back when Peterson actually had a edict. You could not work on cars. You couldn't race cars. And they, remember that?
I remember
They
that.
told us you could not own a race car and you could not race. Well, what that really meant was you're an indentured servant, right? And it's like, I'm sorry, but this is America. This is not indentured service, dude. We'll just go do what the hell we want. The problem was we couldn't report on it. We couldn't talk about it in the magazine because they were doing it.
Right.
And which is unfortunate because that
that too.
was later.
That was way later.
That was later. So I don't know if you remember, there was a story that Pat Canal did this before I came to Hot Rod.
Sure.
And he had this, I think it was an Altered that he was driving. And Pat.
Oh, yeah.
is
Too tall and all.
He tall and all. He's 6'8", 6'10",
6'6" anyway.
He was tall.
tall dude, and so
Sticking out above the car
he's standing next to the car with a bag over his head.
like Lippincott.
Like Floyd,
There you go. Which we
the
learned
name of
that
the
story.
driver was Floyd Lippincott III,
Which isn't a real name.
which is not a fluke.
It was his stage name when he was driving.
Well, that was Bob Muradez's stage name for driving the freight train. That's
right.
The two engine
And when
top gas car. And the deal there was the family did not want him driving.
His dad didn't want to. And later, when the tragedy is when he told his parents the truth, they literally kicked him out of the
Yes,
house.
they
Like,
just like that's all.
Do
Do you remember the story? Steve Gibbs told us that entire story, and that was his.
Yeah,
He was the guy who came up with that.
yeah.
So
Floyd Lippincott.
it was
Jr. Gibbs, Floyd Lippincott Jr.
and didn't he have the plumage too? Didn't he have?
I don't think so.
I thought he did.
Because the deal was when they would shoot his picture after he won the race, he kept he had a mask on. He kept his mask on so that they wouldn't see his face. So just some fantastic stories.
Didn't he win at
he did win.
down at the beach?
Yeah.
Lions. Didn't he win fuel though?
No,
I guess it was
this was back. That was during the NHRA fuel ban. So they were running.
No,
this
he
was
won
running-
some big race.
Well,
down
he may
there.
have
But
after the fuel ban.
he didn't win on the last race.
There's a picture
right?
of him in the winner's circle,
Yeah.
Oh, that's happened all the time.
but with Floyd Lippincott Jr.
Floyd Lippincott Jr.
Yeah.
And then so
Ganal
so
has a bag over.
so has a bag over his head. The story was in the magazine, and during the time when we're supposed
That's really awesome.
not supposed to be driving race cars.
I'd love to think he
So
pulled
we
that
we
for
took
Lippincott.
Bechtel's car to Bonneville, and he set a record with it, and it was in a gasoline class, but he had a row of CO2 bottles in the back, and of course, SCTA tech just immediately thought that's nitrous, right? But it wasn't. It was actually CO2, and what they would do is they would shoot the CO2 out in front of, because it was a normally aspirated small block Chevy, like 388, something like that.
CO2 in front of the
And literally when we would test it, it would start snowing inside underneath the car, underneath the hood. He'd hit the button because it's humid out there, and it's coming out at like minus 40 degrees below zero.
But that's awesome.
And he'd hit the button and it would start snowing under the hood.
How could
Yeah,
you
you
have
just put a little like Santa.
Well, no,
sleigh.
it's a water
I
air.
understand.
I mean,
Yeah.
Go for it.
And another story. They had a ZF 6-speed right in the car because this was before the Borg Warner 6-speed.
Yeah.
So they had a ZF box and got ready to put the car together.
Is it a box or a Transact?
Transmission. It was a transmission because
Oh, it was a transmission.
this is a Firebird. So they got ready to do, and it was a custom fine spline. I forget, it wasn't 26 spline, I don't think. And they didn't have an input dummy shaft. So they had a spare transmission in case something happened. They sawed the input shaft off the transmission so that you get the clutch in. That's racer mode. That was
Well, you're there.
And
If you're
that-
at Bonneville, you don't get it done.
well, no, this is before they got there.
Oh,
And then rolled it off and set a record. But the problem was getting it through tech because they truly believed it was not CO2, that it was nitrous, but of course.
So you can
It
just
wasn't.
breathe the nitrous and go, see, I'm not falling asleep. You're not ready to do dental work.
Everything's all of a sudden funny.
It's snowing.
So, yeah. So anyway, it got off track a little bit, but
I wanted to mention something. I mean, we talked about George, amazing guys, Xydias, George, but a friend of ours
yes.
passed that this can be the memorial show for sure.
Yeah,
But-
unfortunately.
It's okay.
Neil Britt
Neil Britt.
was
I do not
One
know
of the
Neil Britt.
super nice guy. He was one of the guys that, if he didn't, we were the junior guys on staff. I was a hot rod, you were a car craft. He was the kind of guy that would come over and just sit down and talk to you and, genuinely be interested in talking to you about what do you need? How can I help you? The whole
When would this be?
this would
this was
Years.
the
Early 80s.
When I started, that was afterwards. So when I met him was when I started at Carcraft in 1979. So it was Rick Vogel was the editor,
Right.
and Al Kirschenbaum had just left, that vacated a position for me. And then it was John Asher, Neil Britt, and John Bechtel, and myself.
Good
And that was the whole staff.
Hey, we'd like to thank our sponsor, ARP-bolts.com. We got a fantastic little backdrop here. They make an outstanding series of bolts, almost anything you would need for engines, chassis, things like that. In fact, we were at lunch today, and a guy asked you about the bolt on the back of your shirt, and and I said, well, it's really about a head bolt. They neck the stem down of the bolt on a short small block Chevy head bolt, so that the clamp load is even across 3 different head bolt lengths on a small block Chevy. And, so that's the kind of technology that you get out of ARP. And we've all got stories on all that stuff.
Well, for a translation of what he said, call arpbolts.com.
But the message is that you can't get any better than that.
No, you cannot.
There you go. We'd like to thank our friends at InTheGarageMedia.com. They have 3 fantastic magazines. They've got Classic Truck Performance, they have Modern Rotting, and my favorite, All Chevy Performance with Nick, my buddy Nick, is the editor.
Biased.
So yes, of course. But it's a fantastic book. They're doing print media, which is of course our favorite. So
in color and everything.
In color and everything, and you can get your car on the cover of one of those books, which is a fun deal.
Great tech.
Great tech.
By
You know, not always written by me,
famous
but
people.
Yeah.
Famous people
Not
have written all the
always
tech.
written by me.
That's right.
Just
So
pick it
check
up and
them
read
out
it.
at InTheGarageMedia.com, and they're our friends, and they will thank you.
And he was a fantastic photographer, so taught me an awful lot. And we called him Neil Puns of Fun Britt because he could never, never a sentence without throwing a pun in there. Just a fantastic guy.
Was he just another editor? And
He was basically, I thought, a cartograph. He was at Cartograph when I was there.
so late 70s through early 80s.
Got to the 80s, probably till about 84 or 5. And then
He went to NHRA.
he went to NHRA,
Oh.
did some fantastic stuff at NHRA. I can't really comment on that because I don't know. But everybody there loved him. And at the time, then J.R. Martinez was my art director when I became editor in 84.
Right.
And then he left and he ended up working at NHRA with Neil. And then they eventually started a pretty
Cutting batters.
banners and things like that. And they were business partners there. So
My art director at Dragster when I was there in 78. So
John, just
super
right,
nice
yeah,
guy.
J.R. Martinez.
But Neil was just one of those genuine shake your hand, look at you, how you been,
Oh,
kind of thing, and was talented and smart and knew a lot of people. And if there was any time he could ever help you, he was always great. And I had lunch with Phil Burgess and Van Toon the other day, and we were talking about Neil because Neil had just passed.
Sure.
That he had a lot of opportunity at NHRA. Things didn't quite work out the way he wanted it to in NHRA, but that always comes.
Sure.
But that he had made a lot of different inroads with the folks over.
Oh, he's huge impact. Absolutely.
So anyway, I just wanted to. There's just a genuinely nice guy that didn't have to do a lot of the things that he did, but
he did it because he cared.
he did.
Yeah.
He's just a pleasant guy.
Yep.
You know,
Yep. Wonderful.
in a world full of crap,
Yeah.
we lost another one.
So we were. I think one of his best photography stuff was when we used to do the Cruising USA series.
Okay. Yes.
And it's classic stuff. There's this photo of him somewhere. He's got his tripod up. He had a Pentax 6x7 and shot everything with the Pentax 6x7. He's up on the back of a truck with his tripod as far as it can go in a ladder, and he's looking at his watch because he's doing like a 2-minute time exposure, of all this Cruising USA stuff. And that's where I learned all my night photography was from.
Because you get all the blurs, that taillight movements.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, which brings up a fun little thing. I don't know if we've ever told this story. It says we're on the Carcraft kick.
Okay.
They set me off. So I've learned all this audio tricks. My Colorado trip. So have you heard this story?
Is it when the cops came?
Yeah.
That's
I'll preface it by saying I was not actually arrested. I was really detained. So we go to Lakewood, Colorado. There's a big cruising scene. It turns out there's 2 giant malls across.
Well, let me. So at this time, Cartograph magazine is being hip to where all the cool cruising is happening around
the country. Right?
So they're flying out or driving out to where these cool cruise nights are. This is back when people were cool, and had real cruise nights that were happening. They were jumping, and so these guys would go report on it.
Right.
Hey, we found this place in Minnesota that's just awesome at blah, 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 burgers.
So what we learned was...
One other little precedent that you're talking about here, at that time, there was also the Street Machine Nationals, which had set the precedent for the biggest events.
Yes. That was an outdoor car show. 5,000 cars would sell out in literally a week and a half.
2,000 cars that didn't get in.
They would just go out and cruise around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was but it was all based on this cruising deal.
Yeah. So anyway, what we learned was to contact the people like a month ahead of time and say, look, just tell your buddies, this is the date, we're going to be there. That's your normal cruise night. But you tell all your
Let's just going to swell the crowd because Cartograph
insane, right? So we show up with
This is without social media.
No, this was no social media whatsoever.
Let 'em know.
Literally called one guy in Lakewood, Colorado. And a month later,
You got the right guy.
massive conflagration of cars everywhere. There was 3,000 or 4,000 cars in this area.
Do you know the fact I think I've heard this story? Was he in the back of the truck?
I was.
He wasn't.
Neil was not there.
He wasn't doing the photographs.
There was another staffer who was a relatively young staffer, and been his story.
And
I won't mention David Ellis's name. So he was responsible for the story. I was just there to photograph and back him up because he hadn't been on staff very long. And so I got in. Back in the day, we had these bright chrome yellow jacket with this big blue thing that said park wrap.
Which, by the way,
listen, we called them bumblebee jackets. I still have mine.
Yeah,
Bumblebee jackets. So I'm in the back of this truck doing my Neil Britt imitation, and so I'm doing time exposures with my little 35.
trying to be cool.
Trying to be cool. And I have a couple guys that are there more or less as my handlers to help me get around and say, we need to go here, go right this. And this guy comes walking up in a suit, right? Sport coat and everything. He walks up. He said, see the
Arches on his elbow.
No. He goes, you with Carcraft? And I thought,
Ooh, can you read?
yeah. And he goes, you need to get down. And I said, I figured he was a rent-a-cop, right? And I was just going to ignore him. And then he pulls his jacket back. Yeah, he pulls his jacket back with his police special 38 badge. Okay, I'll get down, right?
Now it's not for that.
Yeah. Well, now the crowd is starting to close in because it's like, well, they don't like this, right? And so the guy goes, you need to come with me. And I said, am I under arrest? And he goes, do you want to be? And I went, not particularly. And he said, so, you just need to come with me. And it's like, so I look at the two kids that are with me, and I just said, look, it's cool. He just wants to talk to me. I'll be back in a couple of minutes, but I'll take my gear. Well, I was just going to walk with him. He goes, take your stuff with you. Bring your stuff with you. Okay. So we walk over to his car, and I said, just be cool. I'll be back. All right. Right. And he puts me in his car, and I throw my stuff in the back seat, and he starts reading me the riot act about how this is all my fault.
Inciting a riot.
Inciting to riot. And then there was some discussion about the fact that in Lakewood, Colorado, they have a rule against assemblages of 10 people or more. And I said, you might have a problem with that. The Bill of Rights, I think, has something to do with that.
But before I got here, they come here cruising.
Yeah, at least at the time, they didn't have a problem with it. And he says, well, you still understand because we have three kinds of people in this town.
Oh,
We have we have we have the hippies, and we have the rednecks, and we have the mopars.
the most.
Because he'd heard that term somewhere. and established that as a car guy, right? And I did exactly the same thing. I just had to look at my face. I started laughing, and he goes, "Do you think this is funny?" And I go, "Yeah, I think it is actually."
What you just said was funny. Yes,
because you have no idea what you're talking about. So he takes me down to the police station.
Oh,
this is now like 9 o'clock at night. And he keeps me down there for like 3 hours. And he had some good intelligence because he says, there's someone else here from Carcraft, isn't there? I go, yeah, there is. Yeah. He goes, you need to get him in here. This is late 80s, right? So, or mid 80s. There's no cell phones. I go, how am I supposed to do that? He says, you'll figure it out. Get him in here.
You'll figure it out.
You got me essentially in not a holding cell. We just had me in an empty office. No cell in a terror. No cell.
Some Morse code or maybe
Yeah, some typical flare or something. That's why I safe to do. And so then I'm in there for like an hour by myself. And he comes back and opens the door and says, "Give me your license. I'm going to run you through Interpol." I started laughing here. Interpol. And I take my license got hands up. I said, I don't think you really understand what's going on here. First of all, you shouldn't be, retaining a journalist. I'm just out there doing my job. I said, if this was the Denver Post, you wouldn't be treating these people like this. I said, so this is getting old pretty fast. He goes, I just want to make sure I don't have some kind of wanted criminal. And I said, Boy Scout. I said, but you go right ahead, do that, because literally no speeding tickets, nothing. I'm a Boy Scout. Interpol. Ask Carol. She'll tell you I'm a Boy Scout. And so he's gone. Yeah. So he's coming out like a Swiss chocolate. God. So anyway, he started for like half hour, 45 minutes. And he finally comes out, he just walks in the office and tosses it at me and turns around and walks away. But I'm there.
He's watched way too many bad.
Yeah, I'm like 3 hours. And finally, David, so the other side of the story is David heard that my guys go over and tell him, "Look, you just arrested Jim." So he told,
Nice.
he took off. And he goes back to the hotel. But he did one smart thing. He called John Asher, who was the editor at that time.
Okay.
And he called John Asher, and they said, "It's Johnson, did he? Explain to the racist John." They said, "Well, go get him out." He said, "No, I'm leaving. I'm taking off." And God bless John Asher. He just goes, "David, if you come back without him, don't come to work because he was out of it." You know, I mean, it was so cool. So then you had to turn around and come back down to the police station. I think they expect him to just go, right? "Oh, we want the jail." I'm sure. And that guy kept us there for another half an hour and let us go. You know, that was the end of it. But it was such a fun story. So then he wanted to do this, you know, this police brutality. But I said,
Oh, now he's a tough guy?
yeah. But I was like, no, I said, don't do that because, you know, that's just going to make it hard for the car cruiser. For the car cruiser, it's just going to make life difficult for them. So just treat it like none of this really happened. You know, but we had barely enough photography to cover this because, you know, nobody was out.
By the way,
Well, I was in this place.
since I heard a ton of back issues of everything, what issue is that? Because I want to see that it's not the cutter that you didn't get.
It was 80. I want to see.
So I call you and go, "You're right, that was lame."
86.
I think the Cummins was that Cruzette, if I remember.
Did that
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
But it was
Lynn was Elijah, actually, because I really need.
Can we get John Asher on the show?
I
said,
I know this cover you're talking about.
John,
John, I love you, but he's a curmudgeonly little guy. I know. So, but if we see him out here from New Mexico,
that would be awesome.
because there would be some fantastic stories. And he and Neil were really tight, tight. Say
Tight.
Yeah. So,
I had lunch with Betty Allen the other day. She had got to see them.
okay.
Carol and he are still doing their.
So you're a hardened criminal.
Yes.
So I got a question for you. I got a question.
But I was never actually arrested.
No.
Merely the
I see.
That's right. It's like what was the line from Stripes? You know, were you ever arrested? Were you ever arrested? Oh, convicted. Convicted of a felony. He goes, convicted, not convicted.
That's a fact. Yeah.
That's right. That's the one. So I'm leafing through Facebook for some unknown reason, and I see this guy write comment, and he's talking about YouTube, and he goes, "Can you guys ever imagine what we did to fix our cars before YouTube?"
before YouTube. Yeah.
How
Struggled.
And
You struggled.
It's called concussions and lit it on fire.
you mean before some idiot in Podunk, wherever, had a cell phone and told you how to do it wrong? I mean, I wrote there, I said, we had magazines, we had children manuals, we had motor manuals, we had real documentation on how to do it, as opposed to people who just flip and tell you whatever to do and then hurt you.
And sometimes it's very accurate.
It can be.
But it can be. But
Here's how you fix your blender.
Yeah.
you know, because I recently, it wasn't those long ago, I'm trying to put my 66 Chevelle together. So I found a YouTube video on how to put the quarter panel linkages together.
There you go.
And he runs through this in about
Quarter panel link.
the quarter window. The quarter window.
Okay, I did it there. I was good
Because you has the
I don't know what
regulate,
talking about.
and you've got two sets of curvy little channels, right? So, oh my God. And he runs through this in about
to chew your own foot off.
oh man, 15 minutes. I spent 4 hours to get the quarter window in on the driver's side. Probably, and then after that, I was so upset.
No, we take pictures first before we take it apart.
Well, we took a story.
Back to the,
We took my car apart 25 years before.
you know, don't you admit you have cell phone?
They don't really cover that. They just show you the relationship, but they don't tell you how to do it. And it turns out it's pretty complex. And there's a certain sequence. And if you don't
Man builds engines.
yeah, well, that's easy compared to these quarter windows. These quarter windows just kid drive up. It was crazy.
But it bugged me that the guy was like,
You just got some guys or some sliders. You're putting together cams for it.
weekend before YouTube.
That's scary.
We brought all that stuff out there, and, you know, we taught people how to do it. But I get it.
Somebody had to fill up Google. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. So it's just, so you're astonished that that was that different. It's not easy.
I've done it.
You've done that. So it can't be that difficult, is what you're saying.
Yeah, look at me. If I'm working it out,
It's stuff like that I'm not good at, you know?
well, everyone's got a thing.
Yep.
I like Christmas
Orders channels are not my thing.
Yeah, and
I try
not many people's things. They are annoying.
Yeah. Well, because the problem was I had to find them.
Find them?
Because I lost them.
Oh,
Because we took the car apart in California and then took it to Santini for 7 years. I love you, Peter.
You're lucky if not.
And then, he didn't have those.
let's just see a comedy of errors all the way along the trail.
But then moved from California to Iowa, had to find them and then unpackage them and figure out left side, right side, because they're not the same.
I wish you could see his face.
It's
hilarious. It looks like I'm so upset.
Buy a Corvette. Quarter window.
Look at the windows. Quarter.
This is from the same guy who built your motor.
Yeah, I know that. That's not worried about that. Oh, wow.
No, that's not my fault. I did that a long time ago.
Yeah, kid.
We still haven't fired that, have we?
Well, you did on a single car.
Oh, that's right. You did, sir. I did.
Wow.
I forgot. But it was on right. How many years ago is that?
Oh, look.
I built like before I left
a year ago.
No.
Well, how many years?
Like
We got three.
Three full years.
Flasher, three's at new.
Right about now. I was in the middle of moving.
Right about.
Yeah, because it took me 6 months to move.
That's right. We'd have 100
rock each part from California.
I've been funny down the tunnel rates. But the confidence is high because that tunnel
and the Everly is like one of my previous.
were on your magazines. And I love that. I so love that. But that year was part of a story you did.
Oh yeah. It was tunnel rams for the street.
Tunnel rams for
Just like Chevelle around the street with no hood.
So
I wasn't going to cut off like
because I know when I finally drive it around like that, people are going to go, you use a tunnel ram on the street? And I'm going to go, well, actually, this one is from a story called Rams for the Street.
This is a Lifetime movie.
Is it now? Yeah. It's a bit like this.
All right. That's enough. That's just
Okay. With the same actors that are in all those same movies, right? From
we have the same music.
Hallmark, same Hallmark.
We're the car internet version of the Brat Pack.
Well, brat means something different these days.
Oh,
I'm afraid to ask.
I don't want to know.
I don't know what it means.
All I know is I'm the young cute one.
Bro.
Something. But did you give us the wrap up?
Really? Oh, we're done.
I thought you were saying we just get stuck there.
Somewhere.
Well, it's been fun. Guys, we started. You know what?
Don't say it because you're the one that moved on. That's my. I don't want to hear you shout. Yeah.
So when I said we should do this again.
Yeah. When I got in, when you're back, sir, try getting on.
Probably soon. Soon.
Probably
We're gonna need. Yeah.
Okay. That's
because we're just this is pathetic. Yeah. Well, sooner than later. Sooner before Grand National Roaster next.
And that's gonna be here soon.
Oh boy, yeah.
Then we're gonna do another marathon.
I'm working the bicycle.
The planes that hopefully we're potentially gonna do some live stuff from night.
Can we?
Not just
can we?
Because usually they're embarrassed of us and they stick us in that's behind a tunnel stand.
We asked them. We asked to do that so that would be less. I get less.
Just we're working on some great big things. We're working on some cool stuff.
Really big show. There you go. Oh, wow. That's solid rep.
Yes, it is. That's going with.
About that.
So we'll get together before Grand National.
Yes. And we'll have to do something.
I agree with the Inskeep thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we go.
Steve, yes. Oh, wow. Jackie Gleason. Well, yeah. That's a little drum roll, please. So, we want to thank the Peterson Museum first for allowing us to come in here and invade this otherwise sanctified location here with a little bit of comedy. And
that's true.
I'm here all the time.
Are you? That's right. You're down in the vault.
Down in the vault.
In the vault.
So go vault.
Do they just let you out like, come up here now with this, and then they put you back down in there?
Oh, you know what is funny? Ever since I've been here, it's just been It's great. I mean, I get to wander around.
Well, you're like handle what, but you're doing photo. It puts the low share and that us driving.
And the stuff I find is just,
That's worth. Can we do a minute or two on that because that is. Why I've already blown the thing already. Because the images that came out of Peterson they are now here, all of them, and a lot of the stuff was digitized. They're digitizing more, but it's a wonderful, wonderful resource, and I'm glad that didn't get just trashed. No, because the early stuff from the late 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. That's all great, and then unfortunately, it kind of got a little chaotic when we went digital.
Yeah.
But so there's not quite the chronology of it. But I mean, when we would shoot photo for the magazine, it got logged and it had a number, and you could find it.
those logs are still there. All of his logs are there.
And that I mean,
His hard file.
oh yeah, it's gone. Yeah,
It's unbelievable thing that he's really.
oh yeah. Yeah,
And it's amazing. And what's nice, you can go and buy photos for personal use for $10. It's pretty good.
I did not know. Hey, were you doing me that? So, like, if I wanted to buy the
Photos?
well, let's focus in focus first of all. That you find so he can put it up.
Yeah, well, sure. I can.
You know what would be cool? Like, we must that image. Carcraft did an image. It was a low angle shot with Bill Grumpy Jenkins with his all aluminum 427 shot up to the front clip of his. It was a 68 Camaro, I think, 68 or 68.
Was it in the big? Oh no, you're right. It was in the Camaro.
Yeah, and that's just such an iconic image. And I know that image. It's down there and stuff like that. So you could buy that for one, and then do like a
Yes.
and then it would be digitized. And then from that, you could make a print for yourself, put up on your wall.
It's archive. It's
You go hang out.
So let's talk about
archive.peterson.org. It's all on.
archive.peterson.org.
I was talking to Tato today, and he was like,
Brian, yeah.
following his stuff out. He wants to come when you're here.
Excellent. Okay. We'll have to get them on the show.
But that's cool.
Yeah. So, all right.
I have a picture of Grumpy Jenkins that I found. I'm always thinking, Randy's sitting close. He's sitting behind Camaro. I want to see a super stock car. A super stock car. And he's got his half helmet on.
Mm-hmm. Open face helmet.
Open face helmet. Yes, that's what it is. Half helmet. What the heck? He's open face. I'm gonna bring that. He's sitting there and he's got the jacket on the top, but he's wearing mod.
This Bermuda shorts.
Bermuda short.
He was famous for that. Yeah.
I'll show you the photo. Perfect. It is the funniest photo. I'm
No race car driver was ever hip with.
actually driving. He was actually driving.
They let him drive out that.
I drive like a sad short.
Yeah. Things have changed a little bit. So.
No, go ahead. That looks fine.
Yeah.
I find it.
Jenkins, you can do what you can.
Yeah, the Cates, Bill Towers, top fuel car going through the lights in 1967. One little frame sitting in one little box. And I look at it. It says lightly on it, 67 Bakersfield. And I go car's completely engulfed in flame.
Wow. Really?
It's at the top end. And I look at that car and it's got a 2 on it. I go, well, they made this Division 2, which Ray has told me they didn't have Division 2 that early. But it's I look at this photo and I go that's Bill.
And really?
And I take a little quick shot with my camera and I send it to him.
Yeah.
It's
Bill.
Bill.
Was his car? Bill Power.
Bill Howard.
Oh, Howard.
His
The collector down in Florida.
heavy American Bandstand sponsored top fuel car that he has no photos of, and he still has the burned gloves.
Really?
That's his photo, and I blew it up. I sent it to him, put it on his wall.
That is cool. That's good. Okay, so we got to wrap. All right, we got to wrap this. We can go on for another hour. You guys all right. We want to thank the Peterson, the Automotive Museum, for letting us come in. It's such a fantastic that we certainly want to help. What was I'm trying to say? ARP-Homes.com for sponsoring this whole mess.
Dash 6.
You can't get this quality in.
You just can't get this anywhere. So if you like what you see here, keep watching.
Bless you.
Yes, and God bless you. And if you like what you see here, keep watching because we're going to keep telling you stories.